The band is called Trial. My name is Greg, and we're here in Montreal tonight playing for the first time in quite a few years. We last played here in the late 90s.
Okay, so the first question is always, what's on your mind these days, socially or politically?
Well, socially and politically on my mind is an organization that I helped start with a group of friends of mine called 100 for Haiti. And we've been promoting social activism and, more importantly, development efforts in Haiti. I was in Haiti immediately after the earthquake. I actually sailed to Haiti and was on a boat that delivered food and supplies. And after delivering these food and supplies to Haiti, we decided to start an organization to continue relief supplies, or continue delivering relief supplies. And quickly realized that relief creates a situation where people are entrapped by that process of relief.
Yes.
So what we decided we wanted to do instead was work on development projects. And we came up with the organization 100 for Haiti and developed it into what is now what's called in the States a 501c3, which means a nonprofit. And we have a number of initiatives, one of which is called Moto Logistics. Most people get around in Haiti by motorcycle, and what we realized we could do is provide loans for organizations we work with. For example, one organization is an orphanage called Kai and Gel. They're an orphanage for kids who either have AIDS or HIV or have been orphaned from parents who died from HIV and AIDS, and specifically AIDS. And what we do is we buy, for example, with this organization, a motorcycle for them. But it's not really an outright purchase, it's a loan, essentially a micro loan. And what happens is they get this motorcycle and use it by day to transport supplies and patients and whatnot. And by night they get to use it as a motorcycle taxi service. And a portion of the money they raise from that service goes to repay back the loan, a small portion. A portion goes to pay the driver. A portion goes to the organization, a small portion for repairs. And it's self-sustaining because when the money comes back in from the loan, we use that money again for another organization. And there's a YouTube video, if you search Moto, M-O-T-O, new word logistics, L-O-G-I-S-T-I-C-S, 100 for Haiti, you'll find this, this description of the program. And we're launching it in the next couple months in a total of about 6 different places. We've launched in 2 places so far. And what's great about it is that it satisfies a need that a guy in Haiti shared with me last year, which was when I was telling him about relief supplies and how we were offering relief supplies. What he said to me is, I don't want money, I don't want relief supplies, I want a way to make money. And he wanted a way to be self-sustainable in the midst of a system of relief that was entrapping him essentially in that process. So that's really why 100 for Haiti exists, is to create those opportunities. So that's always at the forefront of my mind.
How can people help? I mean, if you want to...
The very best way to help with 100 for Haiti right now is actually through the idea that less is more. And what I mean is that if you go to 100forhaiti.org and you spell that out, ONEHUNDREDFORHAITI.org, there's an option to click to donate only a small amount of money per month. I mean, sure, you can donate hundreds of dollars a month if you want to, but you could actually donate, instead of a one-time donation, $5 a month, $1 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. Which for some people, I don't drink coffee myself, but for some people that's like their coffee budget for the month. So if you donate a small amount a month, and then you get a few friends to do that, and they get a few friends to do that, and in time, say we have 100, 200, 300, 400 people donating, say, $5 a month each, all of a sudden we get to launch Moto Logistics and provide these opportunities and these kind of self-generating development efforts all over the country of Haiti. And we're already really geographically diverse, but I think we can do better. And if people even get involved and donate even in small amounts, it could be really incredible. It could have an immediate impact, because 100% of what we raise goes toward development efforts. No one is paid with 100 for Haiti. We're all completely volunteers.
I don't know if you know, but Montreal, mostly Quebec, has a strong tie to Haiti because of the French language. And we have a lot of NGOs in Montreal that actually profit from the misery of people in Haiti.
Sure.
Because that's how a lot of NGOs work.
Yeah, disaster capitalism.
Yeah, so that stuff. So we get a lot of money from the Canadian government, who exploits Haiti like no tomorrow. We have a lot of corporations that are in the Haitian soil in Haiti to exploit the people.
Sure.
How do you? I know you're not that type of NGO, but
how do we? So the question I think you're going to ask is, how do we
remain
non-corrupted for the people of Haiti, and also how do we assuage people's fear that we are actually corrupted already and misusing money? And ultimately, I think in any situation where you're providing relief or development efforts, you're intruding in a way in people's lives. So the question is to constantly ask yourself, how empathic can I be? How sensitive to conditions can I be there? So that when people are involved in the projects that we've offered to them, are their lives being diverted from what they want? Meaning, are we instilling what we want on them, or are we serving what they want for themselves? So the whole modal logistics plan is never offered to anybody who really doesn't ask for it primarily, meaning we suggest it and say, hey, this might be a good thing. But unless they say, yeah, we love this idea, then it dies. And we actually, modal logistics was around for months and months and months and months and months before we had anybody say yes to it, because they wanted to be sure it was right for them, and we certainly didn't want to instill our will on anybody. So another thing that we do, other than just listening to people, making sure that their needs are taken care of, rather than ours, of course, is that we remain transparent with the money. Meaning that if somebody was to really want to see the books, we could show them the books and just show them, this is what came in, this is what went out. And in fact, last year we were doing our taxes, and it was kind of interesting just to see that like all of the money that went in went out, and in fact even more, meaning that like there was money, personal money, that got put into the coffers, so like there was nothing taken out for ourselves or for our personal needs, certainly, because 100 for Haiti is just it's all volunteer. So there's really no way to say to people in this day and age, trust me, right? It's impossible, because immediately the mission, the moment you say trust me, somebody says no, I'm not going to trust you. But at some point, I think we have to get beyond the sense that we have in ourselves that no one can be trusted and there is no good in the world, or else the only option at that point is to either shoot yourself in the head or dig a hole, climb it, and bury yourself. We have to at least put our trust in people at some point. And all I can say is that 100 for Haiti, given that I'm attached to it and the people who are attached to it have integrity, is a good organization doing what we think are good things, and what people are getting back to us about are good things in their opinions as well.
Because I think the danger of it is that you wanting to help people, somebody comes and says, you know what, we can help you, and that's how this thing begins, right? Like the way they actually use you is because you want to help and care for people. Like a government, non-government will come in and say, you know what, we can facilitate stuff. We can,
Sure.
And then they get in. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
No.
And that's why I think a lot of people get cut off, because it's so hard sometimes to say, fuck, if we only, like you say, if we only could get this one thing or this, and then you like, you get sucked in and.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, what's important is that we go to Haiti. We're not just sitting at home, meaning that I was there a year ago. Our project manager with 100 for Haiti just came back last week. So we're in Haiti, we go there, we make connections, we talk to people, we hear what people's needs are. We travel to the outskirts of Haiti to meet people who are, essentially not getting the attention they deserve. Meaning that a lot of attention goes to Port-au-Prince, that's the main city. Port-au-Prince it's just crawling with NGOs, it's thousands of people there, trying to help. But we're going to rural areas, places where people maybe aren't getting that attention and aren't getting that care and that help, because we want to be present for people. We don't want to just be present. This isn't ego stroking. If I wanted to do something ego stroking, I'd go, do something, more glamorous than helping in Haiti. I mean, Haiti is, in many people's minds, yesterday's cause. Like, if I wanted to do something present, I'd be, riding a chariot into, New Jersey right now, offering to help with Hurricane Sandy or something, and filming it in the midst of it. So this isn't ego gratification for us. It's more, not even more. It's entirely about serving people, because we made a promise to help people after the earthquake, and we didn't want to just sit idly by as days and months and years pass and our attention wanes and people's attention wanes. We wanted to stay present, stay true to our promise.
To understand the history of Haiti, how they fought Napoleon. I mean, they fucking kicked out Napoleon.
They kicked out the oppressors. They overturned essentially an oppressive government and replaced it with their own, essentially. That's bad for business in the world we live in. So Haiti becomes a prime example of don't do that, meaning the powers that be saying don't do that. So what we do largely is we stay as much as we can out of the politics in Haiti. Because Haiti is a place with a lot of corruption, and it's a place that is most definitely not safe. And we stay out of the power struggles in Haiti and try to work directly with organizations that are very grassroots, independent grassroots organizations. We don't ally ourselves with major organizations that people would have heard of, meaning there's no Red Cross tie-in There's no huge tie-in with the United Nations, anything like that. In fact, there's no tie-in with the United Nations. So we try to stay as independent as possible, and that means that we're able to stay out of the political maelstrom. And Haiti is constantly in a state of political turmoil.
What was the thing that sparked your interest to start this organization? What was the event? Was there a person? Was there an incident? Was there an event? When was it, and what led you there?
I was originally in Haiti filming part of a documentary about 8 months before the earthquake. And then when the earthquake happened, I had a chance, I knew some people, actually, some people from the punk rock and hardcore scene who were sailing. One of them is a ship captain, a guy named Jared is a ship captain. And he was going to sail to Haiti out of Miami with supplies and food for the Haitian people. So I called him and I asked if I could get on board with that ship, and he said yes. I flew to Miami from Seattle, and we sailed for 8 days and nights in order to get to Haiti with 10,000 plus pounds of supplies and food as relief. And when we got to Haiti, we unloaded these supplies, and the people there were very, very thankful. And in the aftermath of just unloading, the ship sailed back to the United States, and I went into the country on foot to try to find people who I had met when I was there before the quake. One of those people is a doctor named Jacques Bennick, and he has a medical clinic in an area called Delmacat in Port-au-Prince. And it's a very poor part of Port-au-Prince. And he was giving away his medical clinic, medical supplies and food to people who couldn't afford it. And I was so struck by that, like what doctor in America gives away medical supplies or gives away medical care? I mean, it's very rare, you don't find that. People stay sick because they can't afford medical care or insurance for that matter. And here's this guy who could capitalize on the pain of all those around him, but instead is being entirely generous with his time and with his resources. And I said to him, I'm going to help you, I have to help you, and I don't know how. And I came back at that point to Los Angeles and thought of this idea. I was like, what if I could get 100 organizations to each pay $1,000 each as a donation? I could raise $100 grand US and send it to this doctor. And as I put out word about this concept on the internet, it was hardcore kids, punk rockers, who started writing to me. One kid from the Ukraine, first of all, and said, I don't have $1,000, I've got $2, can I send that to you? And I thought, absolutely you can send $2. And then somebody else wrote and said, I've got $10. Somebody else wrote and said, I don't have to buy records this week, I've got $20. And one by one, it was hardcore kids, people from the punk rock and hardcore communities who contributed enough money to really start sending some supplies down and also some money down to Haiti for this doctor. So it's amazing how oftentimes we get jaded and think that the hardcore or punk rock community isn't doing enough, and it was better back in the day, and we get these nostalgic, washed out, ridiculous ideas of what once was rather than what is now and the potential of what is now, because it was hardcore kids now who helped fund the genesis, for lack of a better word, of 100 for Haiti and what it then became, which was a fully fledged nonprofit organization. But the origins of it came from our community, essentially.
It's cool. It's funny because I was going to ask you about actually how Haiti is such a remote subject from hardcore.
Yeah.
That was the first when you start talking about it, because especially like I say here, we have a lot of interest, our corporate interest in there.
Absolutely.
In Montreal, French-speaking population, Quebec, very exploitive of the Haitian people.
Sure.
The biggest t-shirt manufacturer in Canada is named Gildan.
Gildan, yeah.
They do all their shirts in Haiti, and when Aristide came over and he wanted to double the minimum wage by $1, from $1 to $2, Gildan was involved in the housing of Aristide.
Doesn't surprise me.
And so we all wear those shirts, and I don't know why we can't start like it's cool, whatever, we got to make the choice. But when you mention that, but the hardcore is giving you the sale, it's like that's amazing.
Yeah, and again, I mean that's from our community, in our community, and the work that we do is generated from a do-it-yourself idea and for independent organizations as best as we can, and it's got integrity. The process has integrity to it.
So how many bikes have you bought so far?
So far, we bought one for Kai Angel Orphanage. We also supplied all the bikes for the first ever all Haitian emergency medical technician training program in Haiti, and then there's 4 more coming in the next month and a half or 2 months.
Are you in hopes, or is there plans of expanding this to other countries in the region?
We've thought about other countries in the region, other countries in the world, just based on that model, that microloan model. But we want to make sure it works in Haiti for the people. We want to hear from the people. We've had this for a year, and it's been amazing. One person who's going to get a motorcycle, one organization who's going to get a motorcycle in about a month, the representative, the person from their organization said that if they had had a moto last month, they would have saved 5 lives, 5 people who died from cholera. So I want to hear those type of responses from people, like lives were saved and lives were changed as a result of the program, and then we'll think about expanding it.
You know, the interesting thing also is like when we're talking here like this, we talk about motorcycle. People here can afford them, buy them. You know, it's like people may think it's just a motorcycle.
No.
You know,
Lives.
and you know, and it's sometimes we're talking about the gesture, the $1, $2.
Sure.
You know, it's $2 over there. It's a lot. You know, the motorcycle over there is the tool.
I asked a guy from a remote village in Haiti. I asked him, because I was in New Jersey meeting with him, a guy from Haiti just recently. And I asked him, would people in your village like moto logistics? And he looked me right in the eye and he said they would survive with moto logistics. It's like, that says it all. Like, a motorcycle isn't going to make me survive.
Yeah.
In Haiti, it makes you survive.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, people can find out more at 100forhaiti.org. And I'm really always interested in having people write, get in touch, and be able to tell them anything I can about it. But ultimately, remember that less is more, meaning that people contribute even a small amount of money per month. I mean, a large number of people will cause that amount to cumulatively add up over time and really make an impact.
Is there a subject you want to talk about?
I think that's about it with the band starting. I'd rather protect my voice than scream over the band.
Okay, I'll ask you a question. Usually the last question is what's next for you guys in terms of touring and recording? Are you guys recording? Are you guys going to keep touring, or is this like a one-time deal?
Oh, no. We've actually toured in the last year more than we toured in years in the late 90s. So we want to play more shows. We want to continue playing as much as we can. And who knows? We'll see if the proverbial chakras align. We'll see where it takes us.
What about recording?
Who knows? Maybe.
Okay.
Write some riffs and some songs that we like, but not opposed to the idea. You know, a song or two as a split 7-inch or something. Who knows? I'd be interested. Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.